Hello and welcome to BattleBots Armageddon Season 2. We're on Episode 8 already, isn't that crazy? But it's been a fun ride, and I have you to thank for whether you're a part of the crew or whether you're somebody who just enjoys the show, and I hope you do enjoy the show. If you're new here, you should check out Episodes 1 through 7 to keep up with the lore. But let's get into Episode 8 with 8 action-packed fights. Let's take a look at this fight card. It's quite an exciting one, and I'm looking forward to it. We actually only have 2 fights that involve first rounders this time around, meaning 12 of these robots are having their second fight. We're gonna see if there's a bounce back story between robots such as Mechavor versus Fusion, who are sitting at 0-1, as well as Eruption and Bloodsport, who are 2 very iconic robots who are in danger of looking at that 0-2. Meanwhile, we have some other redemption stories, such as Frenzy and Cannibal, who both had embarrassing first round losses. And of course, Quantum versus Sawblaze, which is 2 lovely 1-0 robots that are determined to make a name for themselves. But this all leads up to our main event, where we have Shatter taking on Tombstone. Both these robots are 1-0, and both these robots looked phenomenal in their first round fights, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in round 2. It's bound to be a banger of a fight. But before that, we gotta look at 2 other horizontal spinners in our debut fight of the night. We have Hijinks facing off against Mo. This fight's very exciting, because both of these robots are coming off of pretty dominant knockouts over beloved robots. First, let's start with Hijinks, which is a beautiful, colorful undercutter. They're a lovely machine, and they made quick work of Behemoth in their first fight, ripping off their plow and just taking them to town. I mean, I think that Hijinks has some dark horse potential, and I'm looking forward to it. But first, I gotta get through Mo. Mo last season didn't do the greatest. They had a lot of control issues and balance issues, but it seems they've worked it out this time around after a very ensuring and dominant win over Uppercut, a robot that I personally wouldn't want to fight, but they made quick work of them, and this fight really could go either way. It's the battle of the up-and-coming horizontals, and I'm here for it. Let's see how it goes, I guess. Next up, we have Mo, and we have Hijinks. Horizontal showdown. One of the biggest horizontals versus one of the most powerful horizontals. And Mo getting some good hits there right out the gate. Oh, they took a wheel off of Hijinks right now. This is not looking good for Hijinks, but Mo being as agile as it is, that could be a problem. I mean, Hijinks is still a powerful robot, but I think Mo wants to pluck that other wheel off just to finish the job.
Weapon there with Hijinks.
Hijinks playing defense pretty well. Ooh, almost getting the wheel off and almost monster trucking themselves out of the arena. Okay.
Hijinks were to somehow get Mo over that wall, this could be one of the most insane finishes to a fight I think we've seen here in Armageddon.
Would be crazy. Both these robots are 1-0. They're looking for a coveted, undefeated 2-0 slot going into the 3rd round, which most robots don't get. And they're just taking pieces off of Hijinks now. They're determined. Oh, and they get that last wheel off. Hijinks is out.
Carnival ride now.
Very pretty carnival ride, no doubt. But at the same time, I think that this fight is over. Mo's gonna go. Mo's just gonna play with it, I guess. They know they won the fight, so might as well make it look pretty, right?
But they need to be careful not to accidentally take themselves out there, because still got more fights left to qualify for the tournament.
Yeah, they gotta make sure not to take too much damage. Plus, it would be embarrassing to get control boarded by a robot with no wheels. But they're letting them get counted out, and Mo has this in the bag, moving up to 2-0 to start their season. Right out the gate, Mo was just very aggressive and coming at Hijinks as they played defense. Even managing to snipe a wheel pretty early on, and that was very fun to see. And they just kept going at him, even sending themselves flying in the process, almost out of the arena. Could you imagine if they'd lost that way? But eventually, they kept it going and eventually sniped another wheel, and it was pretty much game over there for Hijinks. That said, I think Hijinks could bounce back from that, but we'll have to see. Mo took him out pretty good, and Mo moves on to be 2-0. A great start for the season. Can they get that elusive 4-0? I don't know. We'll have to find out. Hijinks drops to 1-1, but that's definitely a redeemable thing. But let's get on to our next fight, where two robots are actually making their Armageddon debut. We have Extinguisher facing off against Jasper. Jasper is back from last season, and last season they didn't impress, unfortunately. They got one win, and that was to the 0-4 Daisy Cutter, unfortunately. Other than that, there really wasn't much to say. It's a hammer bot from the UK, and it's a cool looking machine, but I think it has to prove itself against another hammer bot and Extinguisher, who was technically in the pack last time around, but unfortunately wasn't able to work. So Extinguisher is coming here new, and they have two configurations. Their main configuration is the hammer, and then they also have a vertical spinner config, but I have on good word that they're going to use their hammer this time around, which makes me excited because the hammer on hammer fight is always fun. So let's see which hammer can hold up better. Let's get into it. We have Jasper and Extinguisher. Battle of the Hammers. Gonna be a fight.
So it will be two very artsy looking machines.
Yeah, we got it's like Christmas. We got red and we got white.
What's your fitting?
Yeah. I don't know when this is up, but at the time of recording, it's almost. But we have Jasper actually controlling Extinguisher. Jasper with their prolific 1-3 record last season. Extinguisher unfortunately couldn't compete because the model it was based on didn't work. So this is Extinguisher.
Extinguisher having to drop out, but beating Jasper to death against the wall now.
It's showing why it shouldn't have dropped out, apparently.
Extinguisher coming back with a vengeance after having technical issues last year. Completely eating Jasper alive here.
Look at these going to town. Determined. They want to do more damage. They could probably get the KO here, but they want to. Ooh, they want to take out the wheels.
They got another wheel.
Jasper just falling apart.
Jasper's 1-3 record last year. Certainly not looking too good on improving that this year. Almost all the wheels have been picked off of it.
I think it's... Oh, and the wedge!
Swimming in an ocean of its own parts right now.
And it's been decapitated, and
it's been thrown into the air.
Going back. They want more action. Minute left. Can Extinguisher get the knockout?
And it's trying to.
It's trying to, and it's out. Extinguisher is won. Extinguisher was definitely struggling a bit at first, struggling to kind of get underneath Jasper and get a meaningful hit. But that said, it wasn't long until Jasper started getting knocked around, and then Extinguisher started to wail on him, which you love to see. Turns out that hammer actually hits pretty hard, and I'm here for it. He just kept wailing on Jasper, taking off pieces, and honestly, they were just having fun with it. Wasn't really much Jasper could do, unfortunately, and they're kind of showing that they're not really improved from last season, but they do have 4 fights, so we'll just have to see if Jasper turns it around. But at this rate, Extinguisher's in a great place, so I'm looking forward to seeing them in their upcoming fights. That control board hit was something else. Extinguisher starts off their season at 1-0, and Jasper starts off at 0-1, and I'm hoping to see more from them. But let's get into our next fight, where we have Mechavor facing off against Fusion. Mechavor has something to prove. They had a lot of struggles in their first fight, where they faced off against Sigma Raptor and got flipped out of the arena pretty early on, but they're a classic era gas-powered horizontal spinner from Arizona, and they're quite the legacy bot, and I'm looking forward to seeing them fight again. I'm happy that they're here. But they have to face off against a robot that not only has a horizontal spinner, but a vertical spinner as well. We have Fusion, who unfortunately also had their struggles when they faced off against Smee in the first round. They didn't really stand much of a chance, but that said, it is a very powerful little compact machine, and it could be interesting to see what direction this goes in, because I honestly don't know how to predict this fight. We'll have to see. Let's check it out. Alright, we have Mechavor, we have Fusion. Two horizontal spinners and a vertical spinner. And Fusion's already smoking. Very on brand for Fusion.
That's about right, yeah.
You'd love to see it.
There's Mechavor. Looks like it kind of hesitant. Something's come off. Is that part of the vertical spinner on Fusion?
Yeah, I mean, Fusion is getting its butt kicked right now. Oh, and its horizontal spinner somehow flipped Mechavor. Okay.
Perhaps I can get him over.
Mechavor can run upside down. Not ideally, but it can run. Now Mechavor is just like, what do I do now? Oh, can they get back on their wheels?
Almost.
Maybe. Okay.
Mechavor hit no.
Come on, Mechavor. Oh, and Mechavor's top and its spinner just got knocked off. I would still say that Mechavor is ahead, especially since Fusion appears to only have drive on one side. I think Mechavor took out its wheels on the one side. And it's just going for it. Mechavor making some moves. Pushing Fusion into the wall. They're a lot faster without their weaponry added, I suppose. Got Mechavor. Pushing Fusion. They're still dominating this fight despite having no weapon at all.
Mechavor still trying to bully its way into Fusion here. Trying to.
Yeah, they're just kind of flipping around, but I don't see how Fusion wins this fight. Because they're just kind of driving in circles. Can't do anything. Yeah. Which it's interesting.
Well, they're still fighting each other.
They're still going for it. Oh, and Mechavor is now a box with wheels. What just happened? Mechavor's gotta be careful. I mean, there's 30 seconds left on the clock, so surely they'll be okay. Everything's gonna be good, and Fusion just want to fight. Mechavor, you almost had it. You almost did. Mechavor was very dominant out the gate, and Fusion was smoking very early on, and Mechavor just kept going at it, knocking pieces off of Fusion, and they lost most of their vertical spinner early on, and I'm pretty sure they lost half of their drive early on because they were just driving in circles. But this was the game changer when Mechavor's weapon and motor came off, and they were reduced to just being a push bot. That said, they were still very aggressive and they still kept going for it, but fortunately, they just weren't durable enough. And then especially when more of the frame came off, there wasn't much they could do, and they got KO'd. Mechavor unfortunately starts off their season at 0-2, and I think they're gonna need 2 really strong fights to come up to make it into our bracket. But Fusion bounces back at 1-1, and I think they still got some more work to do too, because that wasn't a very strong win. Moving on, however, we have our midway major now. We have Quantum facing off against Sawblaze. Both of these robots are sitting pretty right now. They're both at 1-0, and they both had pretty dominant wins. We had Quantum, which is a very beautiful crusher from the UK, who unbalanced Cannibal spinner like a few seconds into the match. It was very impressive, and then they just dominated the rest of the way and even gotten out of the arena, which is kind of uncalled for with a crusher bot. Their first opponent after that is Sawblaze, who is a beautiful hammer saw. They struggled last season, but this season they've proven to just be way better. In our series opener facing Lockjaw and just ripping them to shreds, it was glorious. Both these robots are eyeballing a high seed, I think, if they keep up this momentum, but this fight is going to be the ultimate challenge to see who ends up at 2-0 to start off their season, and we'll have to see. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. Let's check it out. Here we have a matchup I'm very excited for. We have Quantum, we have Sawblaze.
This is going to hurt, is all I know.
Someone's gonna hurt. Come on, one of these two. I mean, they're both in there 1-0, so...
Quantum had a good bite on one of Sawblaze's forks there.
Yeah, it looks like Quantum's doing some damage early. Definitely not what I expected, but you love to see it.
Absolutely. Quantum got one of the most confusing results in Armageddon history, got an out of the arena in the last fight.
Yep, and Sawblaze...
Into the wall. Looking for a second
Sawblaze
one.
getting a win
somehow.
to start out. Yeah, look at this. Quantum is driving this fight very well, but I suppose we will see. Sawblaze is going to have to do something to get bounce back in this fight, because it's not looking good to start off. You would think that Sawblaze would be the lower robot, but apparently Quantum's winning the ground game war, which is a very fascinating thing to see.
Quantum. Mostly keeping control of Sawblaze here. Sawblaze hasn't really been able to get the weapon into play.
We got Quantum trying to get underneath. Oh, Sawblaze is finally underneath, and oh, they just sniped a wheel. Okay, Sawblaze starting to make a comeback. Can they keep that up? I don't know, honestly. Oh, there we go. Now Sawblaze is starting to get underneath. Yeah, they're booping the snoot right there.
Quantum just got the world most aggressive snoot boop. They've been taken to the wall. Quantum keeps showing it back to Sawblaze. They need to be careful doing that.
Yeah, because that could end their career real quick.
You're about to see maybe Sawblaze not firing the weapon.
Yeah. Oh, Sawblaze taking a few pieces off of Quantum. We like to see that. We like to see pieces come flying off.
Absolutely, it completely took the entire side of Quantum, almost. Now going after the weapon. Surprisingly, a Quantum-oriented fight, but Sawblaze making a comeback late.
Yeah, this is interesting. This fight had a lot of back and forth, and it almost seemed like Sawblaze was struggling to get underneath Quantum, even though arguably they have the better ground game going on. Quantum had some really good moments early on, pushing Sawblaze into the wall and generally controlling the fight. That said, it did turn around a bit when Sawblaze started to successfully get underneath Quantum, and when they managed to do some damage finally. And you'd love to see it. But I don't know, despite going to the judges, and it is gonna be an interesting fight to see them judge for sure. I don't know which direction it's gonna go in, but I would argue that Sawblaze did a lot more damage to Quantum. But I guess we'll see. And we have a unanimous decision. The winner is Sawblaze. Not too surprised there. Sawblaze moves on to 2-0, and if they keep this momentum up, they could have a top seed. Quantum, fortunately, is at 1-1, but it's a respectable 1-1. Their loss wasn't bad, and their win was very good, so I'm looking forward to seeing them again. Our next fight up is a debut of two new robots that are new to the world of Armageddon, but are both legacy machines. We have Deadblow Eternal, and we have Ripper. Both of these robots are absolute classics, but let's start off with Ripper. A Brit flipper that just doesn't quit. It's definitely an iconic robot appearing on Robot Wars as well as Clashbots, I believe it was, and I'm looking forward to seeing what it can do. This is their debut, their first fight, and I'm excited. They face off against another retro legend. We have Deadblow Eternal, which is a reimagining of the late Grant Imahara's iconic middleweight robot Deadblow. Still has the same idea, the fast hammering action, only rebuilt for a bit of a modern era in its loving memory, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. This should be a very fun fight, so let's dig in. We have Ripper, and we have Deadblow Eternal. This is gonna be something. Deadblow Eternal in honor of the late Grant Imahara, rest in peace. I'm happy to see this tribute to you. We have Ripper getting a flip in.
Ripper, a icon of the British scene, going head to head here with Deadblow Eternal.
Ripper's been everywhere. Deadblow, classic in their own right. Now they're stuck. Is Ripper gonna let them be? Can Deadblow escape? I'm not sure. Oh, it looks like they might be. Oh, they get a flip.
Deadblow's hammer, big throw there by the old school Brit flipper. Now taking Deadblow to the wall again, almost getting it out of the arena. We haven't seen much of Deadblow's hammer yet into play.
Yeah, they gotta make some moves with that hammer for sure. Oh, there we go. There's a little bit of action.
There we go.
Deadblow getting some pecs in. Ooh, and now they're pecking the internals of Ripper. Now this is an interesting move.
Absolutely, going straight for the CO2 canisters on the inside. I think it may have affected Ripper's ability to right itself.
Oh, they're going back at it. Ripper's gonna have to self-right soon, or else they're gonna get counted out probably. Ooh, and Deadblow getting some more hits on the inside, and it appears that Ripper is back on their wheels, but Deadblow is
powering it into the wall all the way across the floor.
They're definitely taking advantage of this fight. This is definitely a good comeback on Deadblow's part, but this could go either way, because both these robots have had very shining moments within this fight.
Very back and forth, right you are, Pori. These two been going to battle here as Deadblow behind Ripper again. Ripper just doesn't seem to have any sort of competitive drive power compared to Deadblow Eternal. Deadblow Eternal also lower than Ripper, which is surprising.
Oh yeah, those forks. Unfortunately, Ripper being such an old machine, they kinda haven't kept with the times. So with 30 seconds left, I think either of these robots would benefit greatly from making
and out of the arena, but Deadblow starting to come back in.
Can Deadblow get back in is the question, because...
I'm not sure if there's enough time for Deadblow to be counted out.
Oh!
The Deadblow almost!
7 seconds left. And Deadblow gets back in the arena
Deadblow
at the very end of the fight.
Second.
It's gonna go to
What
the
a
judges.
dramatic fight.
This was truly one of the closest fights of the season so far. We had really great moments from both robots. We had Ripper flipping Deadblow around, and there was even a point where Deadblow was stuck, but thankfully they got loose and the flipping continued. It was definitely an uphill battle, but eventually Deadblow got its footing and started pushing Ripper into the walls, getting some good pecks in and doing some nice damage. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the judges do this, especially when Deadblow started pecking at Ripper's internals. That was a beautiful move on their part. It was a little scary though, you know, I mean, Deadblow definitely put a lot of work into this and did very well, but eventually they got knocked out of the arena, which I was very concerned about, and they almost got counted out, but thankfully made it back into the arena. And we have a split decision. No surprise there. Judge Green Square scored the battle for Deadblow Eternal. Judge Smurf scored the battle for Ripper. Judge Zaza scored the battle for Deadblow Eternal. Very good going. That fight could have gone either way, really. So Deadblow Eternal moves on to 1-0. Great start to their season, and that was such a fun fight. That had me on the edge of my seat. Ripper, that wasn't a bad loss at all. They did fantastic there, and they have 3 more fights to prove how fantastic they are. But moving on, we have another Brit Flipper legend in Eruption facing off against Bloodsport. Both of these robots are looking at their second matchup, and surprisingly, both of these robots are 0-1. We had Bloodsport, who unfortunately lost the Tombstone in the main event, despite taking a wheel off it. That definitely wasn't a bad loss, but eventually they just got control boarded, and I think they can definitely bounce back from that, but they have a challenge. Brit Flippers are definitely a kind of robot that are not the friendliest to horizontal spinners, so it'll be interesting to see how Eruption holds up. Eruption's also sitting at 0-1, and their first loss was to Yeti, and honestly, it was a tough fight for them. They didn't really stand much of a chance, unfortunately, to the scary drum spinner of Yeti, and with all their aggression and all that. But Bloodsport could very well be a different story, so let's take a look at it and see how this one goes. We have Bloodsport and Eruption. Definitely a fight you'd expect to see in the bracket. We got the legendary Eruption facing off against the pretty dominant horizontal spinner Bloodsport. Bloodsport had a good showing in their first fight, but unfortunately lost the Tombstone. And Eruption unfortunately lost their first fight to Yeti, so it's fairly even ground right now.
So the Eruption, the final Robot Wars champion, if I remember correctly.
It is indeed. Series 10.
Icon of the live event series. You got a relatively new robot to the board. That'd be Bloodsport. It's only been around a few years.
Yeah, it's only second year at Armageddon, and its first season it did fine, but this season it definitely looks to be improved overall, period, you know, which we love to see.
Which is good. Yeah. See, Bloodsport doing a good job keeping Eruption away. Eruption hasn't really been able to get under it at all.
Oh, but he takes off a piece of Eruption's flipper.
That is not good for Eruption.
Oh, there we go. They're still getting flips in.
Still had the spatula at the bottom of the flipper, though.
Yeah, just I guess part of the panel came off. It happens. Oh, there's a big hit from Bloodsport. For driving into the wall for some reason.
Bloodsport rearing up for some big hit here.
Yeah, I don't know what Bloodsport's doing. They're just kind of driving all over the place. And Eruption looking good. At least for being a robot that's missing part of its flipper. It is trying to get to Bloodsport, and Bloodsport's kind of just running away because they gotta get away to, you know, speed up their weapon.
Bloodsport now dodging by. There we go. Another side-on hit to Eruption. Eruption needs to... I don't know if flipping Bloodsport would necessarily end it. Need to try to get it near the wall.
Yeah, because, I mean, that pole is specifically made for self-righting, but we have seen it fail before, so...
Okay.
Your bet is as good as mine. That could go either way, really. And... I think the damage is starting to add up, because we got a smoky Eruption, and it does seem like they're slowing down a bit, but less than 30 seconds left on the clock. This is probably going to go to the judges, unless there's a KO in the last bit of the fight.
Bloodsport's definitely aiming to get the KO on Eruption. It's getting close, I would imagine.
Yeah, less than 10 seconds. And they're out. Eruption definitely had an excellent start in this fight, sending Bloodsport flying a few times and definitely showing some good control. But unfortunately, Bloodsport's able to self-right, and the hits just kept stacking up, I feel. You know, just kept hitting Eruption, doing damage, and even taking off part of the flipper. That was pretty glorious. But Eruption never gave up, and I wouldn't call this a bad loss on their part. Just eventually they got control boarded, and that was that. Eruption unfortunately starts off their series at 0-2, but at least with this fight I would argue with a good loss, so hopefully they can bounce back from this and maybe still make the bracket. We'll have to see. They still have 2 more fights left, and Bloodsport moves on to 1-0, where they're looking pretty good so far, and I think with 2 more good fights, they could be in line for a pretty good seed. We'll have to see. Next up, we have another second fight of 2 0-1 robots. We have Frenzy facing off against Cannibal. So Cannibal started off their season with some rough luck. They're a horizontal spinner, and ideally they should have had a good shot at a crusher like Quantum, but Quantum got that perfect bite that unbalanced their spinner for the fight and eventually costed them the fight completely. But I think they could still bounce back. They showed a lot of potential, and that spinner is definitely not something I would want to mess with. They're facing off against Frenzy, who had a much weaker loss. Their fight didn't even make the main show, and they lost to Axe Backwards, who took off their hammer. They still had some decent moments, getting some good hits on Axe Backwards, but that said, they really seemed to struggle to control in that first fight. Hopefully that isn't the case this time, and hopefully they can get some good hammer shots, but it is going to be tricky to get hammer shots on a robot such as Cannibal, so we'll have to see how this goes. Let's dig in. Here we have Cannibal and Frenzy, 2 robots who lost their first fight. Frenzy lost to Axe Backwards in a basement fight, and Cannibal somehow got out of the arena by Quantum, of all robots, and Frenzy's just trying to get a hit onto Cannibal.
Cannibal just trying to do whatever it can to make sure that the only thing it isn't remembered for is being the answer to a trivia question about Armageddon.
Indeed. But Frenzy, what can Frenzy really do? I mean, they haven't had a lot of success in Armageddon. This is their second season, and they've won 1 fight out of the 5 fights they've been in, and this isn't looking like it's number 2. And oh, and Frenzy's naked now. Okay. Yeah, that's a... Oh, big hit there from Cannibal. Can Cannibal capitalize on this? Frenzy's just kind of like glitching out of control. And Cannibal... Oh, Cannibal's getting some hits on Frenzy. It's like, I don't care if you don't have a shell. And he's dead. Cannibal wins. Frenzy tried their hardest, but unfortunately, Cannibal was just going all out. They had something to prove. Kept getting good hits on Frenzy, and Frenzy really struggled to hit them. I mean, that long hammer is definitely difficult to land a shot, so eventually Cannibal ripped off Frenzy's shell and got that beautiful hit. That was beautiful. But there really wasn't much that Frenzy could do at that point. And eventually they got the control board knockout. Cannibal moves on to 1-1, and we'll have to see where their journey takes them. They have 2 more fights, and I think that they're gonna need to look good in 2 of them to make the bracket and get a decent seed. So I look forward to that. But I'm really looking forward to this main event between Shatter and Tombstone. Oh, that's exciting. For our main event tonight, we have 2 robots who are sitting at a nice 1-0 record. We have Shatter, who in their debut fight took it to Monsoon, just beating him senseless, not caring what happens. And that's part of why we love Shatter in this house. They're not afraid of the massive spinners. They just want to go at it, and their aggression is definitely something that's very admirable. But they face off against one of the most aggressive bots out there. We have Tombstone, the big horizontal spinner, and truly a legend in this sport, as most people would know. Their first fight against Bloodsport was definitely a fun fight. Bloodsport, who we saw earlier tonight, take out Eruption. We got a beautiful fight between them where Bloodsport actually ripped off one of Tombstone's wheels, and Tombstone still kept fighting. That shows how resilient they are. They can take some severe damage and they still keep fighting, and they still got that control board knockout. Can they do the same with Shatter? I don't know. Both these robots are durable and they're both very aggressive, so I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. We have our main event. We have Tombstone facing off against Shatter. 2 robots which started off their seasons with some pretty good knockouts, and 2 robots I've always wanted to see fight. Oh, swing and a miss from Shatter. Big hit from Nightmare there.
Shatter needs to be careful with Tombstone.
And they self-right. Oh, they're flailing around a little bit, but it looks like they're back on their wheels. Swing and a miss. Oh, you got the hit. He's out of the arena. Can Shatter get back in? Oh, it looks like they can. Looks like they're stuck.
Shatter swung just a moment too early, got its head caught by Nightmare Blade that threw it square into the arena. I don't think Shatter's getting it back over the wall.
Yeah, I think Tombstone has taken this. Tombstone, while they only won 1 fight in Fight Night last season, they're starting off their career with a pretty strong 2-0. Okay, this was a short one. Shatter did start off aggressive, but unfortunately that miss was very unfortunate for them. And that hit there where they missed and they got slammed out of the arena. That's a beautiful shot. Let's look at this again. That was the money shot. One of my favorite clips of the season so far, for sure. Quick fight, quick victory, and Tombstone starts off their season with 2-0. Last season, they only got 1 singular win in the Fight Night, so they're actually looking very good right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in the rest of the season. I mean, if they keep this momentum up, they could be looking at a top seed, maybe even the #1 seed. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see where they go. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that you are too. Anyways, that's it for tonight in BattleBots Armageddon Season 2. Tune in next time for 8 more action-packed robot battles. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are. Now we're fully into the second round, I believe, and I think it's going to be really exciting from here, so I hope to see you next time. Same bot time, same bot network. Stay famous, y'all.